you ever wondered how some entrepreneurs turn words into wealth while others struggle to be seen? Today's guest has mastered that art and teaches thousands of others to do the same. Welcome to the Wickedly Branded podcast. I'm your host, Beverly Cornell, founder and fairy godmother of brand clarity here at Wickedly Branded. I am so incredibly thrilled to introduce Aurora Winter. She has an MBA, which is amazing. She's an award-winning best-selling author, TV producer, media coach, ghostwriter, and successful serial entrepreneur. Aurora uses her filmmaking expertise and neuroscience to help people make a difference. If you want to write a book or create more income and influence with your expertise, you're going to want to stay tuned because this conversation is going to light you up. Aurora, welcome to the show.
Beverly, so great to be here with you. And I look forward to giving tips that will help the audience turn their words into wealth.
Yeah, we all need some of that, right? Okay, so as someone who's built multiple seven-figure businesses across completely different industries, talk about what was the to become just an entrepreneur and then how things have evolved over time.
Well, I'm a very creative person, so I'm just destined to be an entrepreneur. Because when I worked as a film and television executive, it was just like, hey, we should do this. And then 6 months later, we would do that. And like, that took too long. I think entrepreneurs can simply be defined as people who solve problems at a profit. Whenever I solve a problem in my own business, and then I look around and see all the people struggling with that problem, I'm like, I could solve that problem for you. And so then I launch a new business. I also get bored easily. So once I've got solve that problem and then I see another problem and I go on and solve that one.
In the same way, like it's a little bit bright, shiny object syndrome, but some of it is like legit. I've got that system down. Now I can do this new thing.
A really quick tip is sell that other business.
Quick tip. I love that so much. So how has it evolved from when you first became an entrepreneur to today?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it just keeps evolving. And every time I hit the messy middle, and then I know it's time like Aurora needs to do something new. I hit messy middle for various different reasons at various different points. And that's the hardest part because it's, okay, this business is working. For example, I had a yacht sales business. It was a multi-million-dollar business. We were the largest yacht dealer in Western Canada, had something else that nobody else could compete. But I was bored. There's that agony in the middle when you're like, yeah, but this is working. I should just force myself to keep doing it. Then that might be a time to look for what other problems can you solve? And I like to use 3 quick questions to filter. What are you really good at? What have you done 10,000 hours of? What still sparks joy? And then third, who is that worth the most to? And so whenever you launch a new business, product, or service, those are some really great questions to ask. And I also really love to encourage and invite people to do a really quick 90-day sprint and test. I hate this when people get all like, they hire a team, they get a big office, they double down on this new idea, and they have 0 clients and they've never sold it. Why not do a quick 90-day test? And that's one place where it may be an asset to consider. Okay. But then once you've got proof of concept, go for it. This little book, Marketing Fast Track, I did it when I was launching from one business to another, generated $250,000 of new business in 90 days.
Nice.
And it wasn't just the income that mattered. It was the confirmation that the pivot to helping people with their messaging, marketing, and their book.
So when I was a little girl, I never thought I could make money being a storyteller. I tell stories all the time now with my clients. How did you learn that was more than a skill, but actually a calling for you?
I've been fascinated and obsessed with stories since I was 9 years old. I love storytelling. That's why I went into film and television. I've written 10 books. I've written maybe 30 screenplays, only one of which is produced. But where I realized that it was more than just a passion is when I had the first genius idea I ever had. The first $1 million idea I had for a business. It was a really cool idea, super smart. Nobody else was doing it. But the $1 million idea was going to make us go bankrupt until I had the $1 million message, which was 7 words. And those 7 words resulted in $3 million of boat sales in 1 week. So I was like, it's not enough to have a good idea. You need to have a great message.
What were the 7 magical words?
The 7 magical words were 5 weeks of sun, fun, and tax shelter. That's an example of $1 million message. What is $1 million message? It's something that contains the seed of what you're up to with a little unexpected twist. So 5 weeks, okay, I understand that. Fun. Okay, I understand that if it's in boating.
Yeah.
And tax shelter? What? And we were selling boats into our charter fleet and setting it up as 10% personal use, which was 5 weeks. And so you could write off 90% of the boat, 90% of all the expenses.
Absolutely.
Most people only use their boat for 5 weeks a year. So 5 weeks of sun, fun, and tax shelter turned $1 million idea into $1 million business.
That's amazing. Was there a moment early on that shaped who you are today as a leader or storyteller? A defining moment for me in my career?
There were many moments like that, but there was one right at the beginning that totally changed my life. So let me just set the scene. At the time, I was a fledgling screenwriter. I was very excited about writing for film and television, but I wasn't in the film business. Nobody knew who the heck I was. And my husband had just died. So I was also grieving, and I had a 4-year-old son. I'm a single mom. No husband, no business, and no clarity. Anyway, one of my friends dragged me to a party. And as a result of that party, through miraculous coincidence, I got invited to pitch my screenplay at the Banff Media Festival. So in front of 600 executives, I practiced my pitch and got all nervous and my shoulders went into spasm. But when I walked onto the stage and I was in the spotlights and the cameras were rolling, I was on. And that 20-minute pitch in front of 600 executives in film and television changed my life. All of a sudden, I went from completely unknown to a little bit famous in film and television, and it generated basically indirectly a 6-figure income. Later, I raised $5 million and launched a film and television company that made 8 films. So why am I sharing this? It's like, I realized in that moment, that 20 minutes, the right words at the right time to the right people can 10x or 100x or more your business. And it was just like, whoa, I've been doing this wrong. I've been spending too much time working at home alone or with my team and not enough time really considering what are the most effective ways to communicate what I'm passionate about, what I'm up to, and invite other people to play. I think applies to everybody. The right words at the right time can change your life.
So one thing that I have found over the last couple of years as I've shown up more in front of my brand and being more visible is the more I get out there and I talk and I go on podcasts, I have found my voice and I found those phrases. So one thing that I stumbled upon one day was this idea of the flying monkeys of distraction. All about that with Wicked. You have fear and doubt and perfectionism and imposter syndrome. When you're about to level up, they come to you and they try to whisper to you not to do the thing, whatever the level up thing is. And so I wouldn't have found that unless I had spoken it out loud. And then I was like, that's a pretty good metaphor, and started to noodle with it. And now I have a whole thing about it. But I feel like if I hadn't gone out, don't go to my first podcast episode, please, because it's very cringeworthy. However, it's only through the evolution and it coming out of your mouth that it has solidified for me more of what my message is and what actually feels like me.
When the right message. It's like when you're playing tennis or pickleball, you can feel it when you hit the sweet spot.
Unless you practice it and say it out loud to audiences, whether it's a podcast or at an event. I'm a little more introverted. I like the podcast better. But I do know that those moments of practice, as hard as they are, as you're coming to terms with your voice, are necessary to find those bits about it.
There's just something magical when you're speaking with somebody who's interested, who's asking questions, just pulling it out. That doesn't happen when you write alone.
So when we first work with a client, we call a brand spark experience. It is a 90-minute interview about where you've been, where you are, where you want to go, the challenges you're having. And what we typically do is we find their voice in that 90 minutes. At telling stories, things like that, we can find their voice. Because you're right. If I just give you a litany of questions, the way you're going to answer those questions on a piece of paper is very different than when I'm like, tell me more about that. What do you mean? It's a very different experience. And we're able to really understand their heart, their purpose, their passion. And that's something that's so hard to do for yourself.
Yeah. And you really can't do it by yourself. You need somebody else, because when you talk to yourself, you use this shorthand and you don't really give it the full life of it. So we do something similar, except much longer. I'm a big believer in video. YouTube is the #2 search engine. And I think most people are not capitalizing on YouTube. I actually think we're at a huge inflection point. And I'm writing a book right now called Brand Strategy for the Age of AI, coming out next year. And it's basically about how can we modify or improve or pivot or clarify our brand strategy, given all the tools that are now available for us. If we have a good strategy, we can use AI to amplify our voice. If we don't have a strategy at all, we could use AI in a way that would kill our voice. I think that most people have not realized that since October 2025, we're at a complete inflection point that is going to favor video. When OpenAI released Sora 2, it changed the playing field. And I liken it historically. When we had TV, it's not like we don't have radio. We still have newspapers too. But we're at a point where what we can do with video is mind blowing. And we're producing clients for ourselves and for our clients that can be done in a day that previously would have taken a whole team a week.
It equalizes the playing field and so many levels for smaller businesses for sure that they just didn't have the ability to do before. Now, when I push a button on a cloud-based service and we're recording, and then when I'm done, I send it over in the cloud to my assistant who does some light editing using some AI tools as well and makes a audio file and also a transcript, and then also a video to put onto YouTube. Also, we can take the data and make smaller bits, like prize bits to share, as well as blog posts and all kinds of things from one recording. Hey, I know you're listening today because you're ready to take your business and your brand to the next level. But if you're being honest with yourself, maybe even feeling a little bit lost, but you've got this big vision and you know that you're meant to make a bigger impact. But sometimes it's so hard to know where to start and which direction to take. Does that sound familiar? You're not alone. So many purpose-driven entrepreneurs feel the exact same way as you. That's why I created the Clarity Quiz, a simple tool that helps you get to the heart of what's holding you back and shows you where you need to focus next. No more second guessing, no more spinning the wheels, just clear, actionable insights that give you the confidence to move forward, that next best step. Taking the quiz will give you a deeper understanding of your brand's true potential and what's standing in your way. And the best part, it only takes like 3 minutes, but the results, they could transform the way you approach your business and brand forever. So if you're ready to stop feeling overwhelmed and you want to start showing up with purpose and clarity, go to wickedlybranded.com and take the quiz now.
I think 2026 is going to be do or die for small business owners because there's this huge opportunity to leverage. Either we're going to work for AI or it's going to work for us. And the difference is if you're doing average work for average pay for average clients, you're going to work for AI because AI is going to be cheaper and faster and better than you. Extraordinary work for extraordinary clients for extraordinary pay, then AI is going to work for you. So I think there's this pivot point. There's this decision to choose to be in a luxury brand. The middle is death. So get out of the middle. That's death. Don't go there. What do you think, Beverly?
There's so many business owners right now that don't know how to harness the power of AI.
Yeah.
So they're just starting to realize, okay, I guess I have to get on this bus, right? I have to somehow figure this out. And a lot of our clients, we say, yes, use AI. It can even help you with your content for sure, especially when you're repurposing content. So if you write a really good article, if you write the article and then you put it into AI and ask it to repurpose it as a social post, it's going to probably put out a pretty good social post because it's your words using some of the algorithm and technique for that particular tool. But it's because you spent the time getting your voice and everything into that initial piece of content.
And your thoughts,
your personal story around it. But AI can feel very generic. And we've messed a lot with AI. Trust me, we've put out some generic stuff, but we're testing it. Those customizations is what's going to make it seem human. And I think what I know what's going to happen is human is going to win over AI as we go forward.
Generic is going to be worthless. I'm in the messy middle in my business right now because as of October 1st, 2025, when Sora 2 came out, my team is creating amazing videos that weren't possible later. I'm pivoting from only helping people with their book to actually offering what I'm calling a fractional showrunner. Because my background's in film and television, a showrunner is the person who looks after the whole season, all the episodes, hires the cast, has the creative vision, what I'm leaning into based on their stories for whatever project we're working on together. Then we do everything. It's like you have your own in-house media studio. People love it. We're getting 12% click-through rate on cold traffic. And my passionate belief is that whatever you're up to, consider doubling down on YouTube and make it video. Maybe you want to work with somebody like a fractional showrunner like me who can just do it for you, but play in that area. I think 2026, you have an opportunity to be an early adopter and you and your business could have outsized gains.
One of the things we talked about was this idea that somebody can do something that would actually turn off their customers. What does that look like?
I think you want to lean into your unique story and you want to lean into sharing the messy middle. I'm a screenwriter, so it's all about the hero's journey, but there is no hero without struggle. If you just say, I had a problem and then I solved it, that's not a story. So I think we want to lean into sharing the struggle because that is what makes you or your client heroic. And also it's all the things you tried that didn't work. And then you had the turning point. It makes the turning point more valuable. I passionately believe that if you don't have video on YouTube, you're training people to ignore you. YouTube has 16% of all internet traffic. So yes, you want to write a book in order to attract your ideal client and repel people who don't like your stuff. But a book is also about communicating status. If your book has no reviews, no awards, and no sales, you are eroding your brand, not building it. It's so fast to put an AI-generated book on Amazon now. There's over hundreds of thousands of new titles uploaded every month. So if you wrote your book by AI and you don't have any reviews, that's what you should expect. But if you didn't and you believe in your book, get those reviews, get the sales, get the traction, apply for awards. That's something I'm really committed to, is to help people not just launch a book, but launch a brand, which means what is the overall playing field and how can we create your brand with your videos, your YouTube presence, your social media? How can we get all of that going while I'm creating your book or while you're writing your book? What is the most effective brand strategy to create the biggest impact with the least amount of time and money?
Yeah. You seem to have you've so many books, so many businesses, all these great talking points. Has there ever been a season in your work where showing up online or being present like this, being visible, was uncomfortable or unclear for you?
I launched multiple businesses. Then my husband died. Then I was in the film business. And then after that, I launched a company called the Grief Coach Academy because I really wanted to change how people fought and recovered from grief. The common myth is time alone heals. And I really wanted to bust that myth. I'm like, no, you have to take action. We had a 9-step coaching process and it really would transform people's happiness in a few months. And you can read about that in the book, Grief Relief in 30 Minutes. So I was on TV and radio a lot at that time. And that was great. But then I noticed at one point that the host, I'm on live television, the host asked me a question and I gave a great answer, but I noticed I wasn't in my body. I was watching me giving a great answer because I'd given the same answer so many times. And then I realized, Aurora, it's time to get out. That's not good. For the people who are listening to this or watching this, if you're noticing that you're in that point where your heart's not totally in it, then I would invite you to do a 90-day challenge. Write every day, read every day, and then review once a month. And this could change your life. So write every day, start to notice things you're grateful for. You'll start to notice things you're praying for. You'll start to notice things you're complaining about. Read every day, different books from what you would normally read. So mix it up. And then once a week, review what you wrote and what I noticed when I did this for 90 days is I'm like, wow, I keep complaining about this thing. I need to just accept it or do something about it. I invite you, especially if you're in the messy middle or you're a little uncertain what you want to do, I invite you to do this 90-day challenge and then let me know how it goes.
I love that. It's so good. Talk a little bit about, we're marketers, right? Is there a challenge right now, any area or something that you've been wondering or questioning that might be something we could dive into that our listeners might find valuable?
I'm open to, maybe you have a good idea for this. So as I've just shifted to offering this fractional showrunner and fractional media company. So my marketing question is around lead gen. I'm imagining that my ideal client who would want to invest in a done for you fractional showrunner idea would be already a successful entrepreneur who's running a 7+ figure business, who doesn't have the funds necessarily to hire a full-time chief marketing officer and have a full-time team doing it. And so a fractional team is like a perfect solution. So the lead gen that works for me beautifully right now, but now I got to pivot a little bit, is people buy my book on Amazon and then they sign up for a business breakthrough book called Up It, or I go on podcasts and people hear about me that way. Those are the only two things. And that works pretty well. That works for helping people with their book, works for somebody who's making 6 figures, but now it's more likely a 7-figure business. So do I need to shift my lead gen? And do you have any thoughts?
There needs to be something to download that would be related specifically to the showrunner and how to build your presence to prep for a book launch. Does your book allude to that? And if it does allude to that, then maybe you just lean harder into that message on podcast. That Can you be more forward focused in what it takes to build? We always tell our clients exactly what you're saying. You need to build visibility first. I feel like if you had something that people could download specifically to like how to your ecosystem, I'd probably, if you want specifics to those, because that's going to tell you who's going to need that help. Do you really think they have to be 7 figures to afford you?
Multiple 6 figures, probably.
Okay. It could be the exact audience you have now. I don't know if it needs to be somebody new. There might be enough there. I would fish in your own pond first before I'd elevate it.
I have a pond. I've got the Strategic Basics YouTube channel. I got the new book. I'm tweaking the Turn Words into Wealth book to add a little bit about the new showrunner idea. And I changed my podcast content to add a little bit more TV flair. How do you create content that's got a movie trailer mindset? I like your idea. I think I will maybe create a little short, how to build your ecosystem.
Or even, did you know that if you have followers on YouTube and you have an email list, like that can increase your visibility for your book by X%?
There's some good examples. James Clear, his book, Atomic Habits.
Yes. Great book.
On New York Times bestseller list for 5 years.
Yes.
He started writing it in 2012. He had no newsletter, no anything. And it took him 6 years to write it. But then he took a whole year marketing the book before it came out, going on podcasts, mailing the book out to influencers. And as a result, and then he asked all the podcast hosts to launch the podcast the week that the book came out. And as a result, it hit the New York Times list right away and stayed on it for 5 years. So this is the difference between publishing first and then marketing a book, or marketing first and then publishing your book into a receptive community that's hungry for it.
That's a great piece of advice right there to have that as well. Like that execution being so intentional in how you launch it. This is fun, Aurora. I love it.
I love it though.
Okay, so in your neuroscience work, I love that you balance the neuroscience side of it. I'm a very whimsical brand, but I'm very rooted in science and psychology and all of those fun things that we nerds love. What do you notice about the fears and beliefs of people that hold them back from writing a book or amplifying their message in this way? Because I certainly was one of them up until like years ago. I got in my own way. People hold themselves back or they get in their own way. So how does the neuroscience work with that? And how do you help people kind of work past some of those mindsets?
Okay, so one of the reasons that people get stuck is because they have the spotlight on themselves.
Oh, and not the reader. Yes.
Think about yourself all the time. And actually, scientifically, neuroscience-wise, there is no difference between self-absorption and depression. So the way to trick that is to think about the reader and try to think about a specific category of reader or even a specific person or hypothetical person even. And what is the pain and problem that they're having that you maybe had a year ago or 10 years ago or 20 years ago?
Absolutely.
So my first published book, From Heartbreaking to Happiness, An Intimate Diary of Healing, was endorsed by my hero, Wayne Dyer, who said, I read every page of this beautiful diary. It touched my heart, and I'm sure it will impact yours. Now, I'm a Leo, as you've already covered, so I'm proud. I wanted not to airbrush my diary. I wanted to have the mascara running on my face and the snot coming out of my nose, figuratively. I didn't take out the pages in the diary where I'm suicidal or self-obsessed or moaning and groaning because I was so focused that my hypothetical reader was my absolute best friend whose husband had died the day before. And I knew I was going to die the day after. And the only gift I could give her was my book, From Heartbreak to Happiness. So I wanted the book to be a lifeline so that she could read it and go, oh, this is just what grief is like. This is normal. And if anything, she's a whiner and I'm doing it better than her. I didn't want the reader to read the book and go, I can't even grieve. Aurora got through it so easily. Whatever book you're writing, what problem are you trying to solve for that person? And if you really connect with the despair and the hurt and the frustration and the angst and the hopelessness that they're experiencing, you will have no problem writing to help them.
So I'm writing a book right now. I use these words that I wish I had 15 years ago.
Very good.
It would have saved me so much heartache and second guessing myself and trying to contort myself into ways that just did not fit me. I had this book 15 years ago. And so I am definitely focused on the reader because I want so badly to prevent them from experiencing what I've experienced.
It sounds like it's going to be a great book, Beverly.
I really hope so, Aurora. I get a little emotional talking about it.
Yeah.
I feel like it's going to be huge. If it can really do that, if it can prevent female founders from contorting themselves into things that they just don't need to and letting them live more fully in their purpose, way sooner than when you're 50 years old. I just feel like this could really change some things for women.
So that heart of passion will break through writer's block, because writer's block is just a mental block. There's no such thing as. But the other thing is there is a neuroscience to the structure of stories that are page turners. If you read good fiction, you'll start to notice the patterns. But this is where I help people, because I've got so much experience with film and television and writing books. You've got the stories, you've got the heart, you've got the transformation you want to provide. That will give you some really good raw material. Mm-hmm. And then you want to structure it so that it's a page turner. Maybe you've got the answers in that book there, but there's a neuroscience to creating open loops so that the person knows there's more to come. Cliffhangers at the end of each chapter. So there's a science behind the structure of great books.
I love that. And I don't know if I do that as well as what you're saying. I don't know if I do that as well as you could. We're just starting. This is just the first part. There's more to come. I love that. I do think that writing a book, especially a good book, it's like you said, the 10,000 hours. I know my industry and I know my truth and I know my experience and my clients, but I'm not a publisher.
Most people think that the books that we've read were written by the author, and that's not true. Winston Churchill won a Pulitzer Prize for being a great author, but he had secretaries and ghostwriters and editors. Throughout time, the politicians, the celebrities, and the tycoons, they didn't write the books that their names are on, but it's just today that it's actually possible for a six-figure entrepreneur to work with an expert, because AI takes out some of the heavy lifting. And that's great, because that means people like you who have a passion and a story and an expertise to share, with working together and the help of AI, we can produce a legacy book that's better and faster than could have been done even a year ago.
That's exactly what I was saying, is that just because I know my industry and I know what I do doesn't mean that I'm going to be the best publisher for my book. You need partners that you can trust that have done this 1,000 times.
Exactly.
And really elevate it and make it something super special. And not only special, but make the book, like you said, build the authority.
Yeah.
And it really is specifically for women and their journey. I always tell my listeners, if you're a man, you listen, it's just a way for them to understand women better if they read these kinds of books and do that, so they can make their contribution in that way too.
We're not just small men.
My last question is always this. What does it mean to you to be wickedly branded? And how do you personally show up as wickedly branded in your life work? And if there is a tip that you would give our listeners and who want to be more wickedly branded?
You're the wickedly branded guru. I think my brand is about creativity. So I love to be a stand for leaning into whatever sparks joy with you and then creating something from it, whether it's a book or a blog post or a video. And I love to do that for myself. I believe that we are created in the image and likeness of the divine creator, whatever word you have for that. It's not a faith-based thing. It's just a belief. I believe that if we are created in the image and likeness of the creator, then when we create, we are connected to our divinity.
That's beautiful. I love that so much. Okay, Aurora, where can listeners find you? You mentioned you can download the book for free.
You can download this book, Turn Words into Wealth, for free at turnwordsintowealth.com. You'll also actually get this book for free, Marketing Fast Track, and you'll get some videos and some other bonuses. But if you're not the person who likes to give away their email address, you can get the book on Amazon or wherever books are sold. If you think you like what we've shared and you want more and you want to jump on a call, you can do that at bookcall.biz. And you can go to my company, which is samepagepublishing.com, and you can see all the clients that I've helped and the very nice things they've said about me. And I call it Same Page Publishing because I come on the same page as my client, which you're never going to get with a New York Times publisher. They're looking after their bottom line and they're fighting, or I'm on your team. It's your pie and I'm helping you make it bigger.
Okay, I love that. What's your favorite social platform to hang out on?
I'm on LinkedIn and YouTube. So say hi to me on LinkedIn, Aurora Winter, or you can watch free videos at Strategic Basics for a little tip every week on how to build your brand in your business.
This has been so fun, Aurora. Thank you so much for spending time with me today and to help our listeners see what the transformation of a book can look like for them and what the possibilities are and some things to consider along the way while building an ecosystem. I really enjoyed our time together.
So did I. Thanks, Beverly.
For my listeners, I really hope that today's episode actually inspired you a little bit, maybe to share your message more, because your message matters, the impact you're making matters, and the world needs to hear what you have to say. You might be the perfect medicine that someone needs to help them for their business or their life. So I say that marketing isn't just about visibility. It's about the impact that you're making And books are one way you can make a very large impact. And clearly, YouTube is something we should be considering. It's about connecting with the right people in a way that feels true to you. So keep showing up, keep sharing your brilliance, and keep making magic in the world, please, because we need more magic. And if you ever feel stuck, no, you don't have to do this alone. You can reach out to Aurora. You can reach out to us. We're here to help you turn your spark into a wildfire. But until next time, I dare you to be wickedly branded. Wow, what an incredible conversation we just had. I hope that this episode lit a little bit of a fire under you to finally bring your brand to life in a way that feels true to you. Remember, clarity is the spark, but activation is that fire and flame that keeps your message and your visuals and your strategy aligned, and the confidence that follows. So does that lovely thing called momentum that you've been waiting for. So if today's episode, if you loved it, make sure you are subscribed to the Wickedly Branded Marketing Podcast so you never miss an insight or a conversation. Until next time, dare to be wickedly branded.